at the Delaware. Thank you, Dee. The Delaware College of Art and Design, where she teaches writing for the arts, academic writing lab, and introduction to non-Western art. That's pretty cool. And also tutors DCAD students in a writer's studio. She holds a PhD in comparative literature and an MA in Middle Eastern Studies from the University of Texas in Austin. And we also, she has a BA in philosophy from Northwestern University. And guess what, is active in her community. We're not surprised at all about that. And Kristen is a coordinator of the Wilmington Neighborhoods Coalition. Prior to finding the Wilmington Neighborhoods Coalition, she launched the Wilmington Land Bank, a nonprofit for managing vacant real estate. She has a BA from Harvard and a master's from MIT in housing and community economic development. And on June 9th, I think, of this year, Mayor Purzycki responded to their call to maintain Rodney Square as a green space, saying, "I have heard you and your neighbors loud and clear." So we want to hear you guys loud and clear. We're looking forward to this.
My apologies. I was sending the link to this talk to people urgently asking for it in the closing minutes. So thank you so much for that generous introduction, Jill. You know, very rarely does all my professional stuff come over into this space. And that's going to be Representative Dorsey Walker, I think, who's going to appear as me as well down there at joining us. So let me go grab my PowerPoint deck, if that's all right.
That would be great.
Okay. Let me just put this on my sites and I will share it. This is my at my professorial life. For sure, going to find my link. So here we are. Thank you for that introduction. So yes, indeed, we'd love to introduce you to the site tonight, talk you through some of the advocacy we've done, the vision we have developed, and some of our concerns where they stand right now. So thank you so much, Dee and Jill, for inviting us to present to you all and talk to you about the Rodney Reservoir. We're looking at the site right here from the kind of northeast corner. You see the community gardens there. There's a communication tower, the pump house, and up on top is an asphalt top that used to have a skating rink on there. Jill just took us through our mission here, so I won't restate it, but you know, we stand true to these principles, public, safe, and green. We want to keep this site public, safe, and green and create a future where all can enjoy its use. We'd love to get you thinking about the place just a little bit to begin with. It is a 3.78 acre green space in the center of the west side, the heart of the west side, where the Cool Spring, Little Italy, and Hilltop neighborhoods meet. And I have heard some of you all talking tonight about your love of preserving green space and the importance of preserving habitat in especially in our urban areas. So that is an urgent issue to us in our community. It's motivating us. This site is zoned open space, and it sits at the meeting point of two watersheds, and is the highest spot on the west side. It used to be the highest spot in Wilmington before Rockford was incorporated. So its natural elevation sits at about 235 feet above sea level. So it's a very special spot. And here's another view of it. You know, now we're looking northwest. You can see here in the corner, this is St. Anthony. So that's due north. And again, you can see St. Francis Hospital. You know, that there's a bunch of homes ringing this site. That's Clayton Street and 9th Street here. And what's underneath there? So what is the site? Underneath it is a 7.5 million gallon concrete tank reinforced by rebar. It's a huge, you know, infrastructure project that was buried at the site in 1916. You know, this is the infrastructure that the city is setting out to demolish. But even when it was, even before it was, the concrete tank went in, it was open basin. And it has always been not just infrastructure, but recreational space. So back, it is some of the Wilmington's earliest parkland, in fact. It's never been privately developed. When the open basins were there, there was a famous baseball diamond. You can see with the clipping here on the left that the mentioning of this skating rink that was an ice rink in the winter and a roller rink in the summer. And this was something that the original engineers, spec'd out in their original plans for the site to have this recreational use from the beginning. In the middle, you see there this observation tower. One could see for 4 states from this location. And then on the right is one of the many clippings I have about this concert and dance series that used to be held at the top of the Rodney Reservoir in the 20s. And you can see there was some 6,000 people attending on this given night. So this site is really central to the neighborhood. It's a gathering point. And there's just wonderful, rich history. The observation tower would be part of a Housewives Observer Corps during the Cold War, where volunteers would watch for Russian planes on the horizon and then call Baltimore when they heard them, saw them. And when you talk to neighbors, there's even more. So many of the neighbors have been in our area for over 50 years. They remember sledding. They remember not even younger neighbors. They remember having sports, after school sports up there, or PE or something like that. And others remember climbing that tower. There's all these memories. And then there were basketball courts up there in the 80s and 90s. Around 2000, the site was fenced off due to safety concerns. And the city said that they planned to, revitalize the site and reopen it for public events, but that just didn't happen. So it wasn't until 2010 when a bunch of neighbors and led by actually Christian was the lead behind this at the West End Neighborhood House, got permission from the city to build a community garden at the site on the lower portion, on a small portion of the site. And you can see up the top here, this is the bucket brigade. From the beginning, all the soil was carried in for raised bed urban gardens. And down here on the left, you can see the original core of volunteers who helped build this site. And today it is the largest community garden in Wilmington. There's over 60 beds and over 100 gardeners engaged in the site. And it was the launching point for a lot of neat urban ag stuff. The Cool Spring Farmers Market came out of this. The Bright Spot Farm Initiative got its start here. And even the Comprehensive Community Development Initiative that we know as Westside Grows Together was born in this coming together of community and partners to build this garden. So it birthed many other resident-driven initiatives thereafter. So in more recent history, just this last year, one of the things we're most proud of is a partnership that our volunteers catalyzed with Healthy Foods for Healthy Kids. They are good friends of ours. We worked with them and to bring Lewis Dual Language Elementary up to the community garden to begin gardening with us, so that teachers and students grades K to 5 could, grow vegetables, learn about science, enjoy the great outdoors. And down there you see an image from our ribbon cutting, and our representative Sherry Dorsey Walker was with us then, and I know she's a great friend to Healthy Foods for Healthy Kids as well. But this kind of project is something we have a lot of hope for continuing and expanding at the Rodney Reservoir in our future vision. And another fun series of events we had started this last summer with the purpose of giving away vegetables that we grow in the garden, and with the purpose of drawing our neighbors up into the space to enjoy it and begin to think about what it could become, and to, re-encounter it, because it's been fenced off since 2003. Only right now the gardeners have, and the apiary and the city have regular access to it. So we wanted to get neighbors up there and to give them a chance to think about the space and what it could be in the future. Yes. Yes, and I do want to, since we just saw Representative Dorsey Walker, I do want to welcome her to the call. I'm glad that she could join us tonight, and she has been a friend to Green for the Greater Good, and we're so glad to have her. So free farm stand. Hopefully we'll get to do it again in a future season. You are all invited to come get some free vegetables to explore the site and um, to take part. And so we see, and I think a few other people on this call might be on in our images as well. We have Thomas Wellman, another volunteer with us, who's here in the photos as well. Oh. And here's another look at the site. Now we're looking towards downtown. You can just see there was a minute, and there you can see Cool Spring Park over there, and just get a sense of the feel for our neighborhood. And one of the things that, has come up in all our discussions with neighbors, and, when we had folks up this summer for Free Farm Stand, we really were realizing, the space as a place for neighbors to come together and to kind of do stuff. You can explore the garden. We would go hunting for flowers and herbs. We would, we had a barbecue, and it is just an interactive site. It's a different kind of space to get together. And when you get up there, you have this feeling of being outside the city. You're up high, and it's something that even folks who haven't been to the site for a long time recall about what they loved about it as well. And it's one of the things we want to preserve and build on in the future design. So we'll backtrack just a little bit back to May 2022. The City of Wilmington requested $1.7 million in bond bill money to demolish the Rodney Reservoir with a vision of development, a private development. And the bond bill requires comprehensive planning and community engagement as a precursor to any of that work. So when that announcement came out, our neighborhood just immediately started organizing and mobilizing. This was a few weeks later on Memorial Day weekend. We had Mayor Pazicki here and a few members of our city council present, and over 50 neighbors came out and shared their experiences of the site, their attachment to it, their desire to keep it green. Those that enjoyed it as gardeners, those who did not. There was, just 100% agreement that this was a green space that we cherished and wanted to keep. It was also this moment for us to think about, wow, that fence is there. What are we going to do about it? This is a moment of transformation as well, that we can reimagine access to the site. For the Greater Good, was born out of that. We've been meeting basically every Saturday ever since. And we've been advocating. We actually, struggled to, influence that bond bill language through the help of our state legislators. And we have been advocating for environmental testing to make sure anything that happens is done safely. And we've been lobbying for a working group so that we can have a resident driven for the future of the site. Then we started reaching out to partners. That's how we got with Dual Language Elementary and Healthy Foods for Healthy Kids. And other folks doing youth development and talking to St. Francis Hospital that's in the middle of a transformation, and trying to think about how a future that this site could enhance our community, and we could help deliver it to the people who need access to green space most. We started learning a lot about environmental justice issues, about heat island effect, about nature-based solutions to climate change. This led us, and with Christian leading the way, we sought a grant from DENREC to run a community design process. We have that, and we were successful, so we have that funding available to us. We learned a whole lot. One of the things we did was reach out to folks at University of Delaware in the Living Lab Research Group, and we were able to start some collaboration with Professor Anna Wick and Dr. Nina David to design a community design event so that we could start thinking through the possibilities for the site and bring the community together to have input and imagine what that could look like. Professor Wick and Dr. David wrote a grant for the Wilmington Partnership, and that was successful. And so we were able to conduct this 3-day charrette imagine. In the first event of the series, we talked about the history of the site, what we wanted to build on, student fellows, sophomores, students who had just finished their sophomore year that led us through this initiative. And we had looked at case studies and learned about concepts like third spaces and outdoor classrooms and adaptive reuse and wildlife habitat and ways that these could be implemented at the site. and attendees were able to like work with aerial photographs of the site and imagine and give feedback about what they liked and didn't like and what they could imagine. At the next site, they did some renderings for us based on that feedback, and we're able to give additional feedback to think through what it would mean to keep the site and the current footprint, or what would it mean to develop it in different ways. And at the end, they had a couple of concepts that we, had as visualizations to carry the vision forward. And what they had in common, one was organic and one was more formal, but they both incorporated these sculpted landforms and some of the elevation that we're hoping to keep in a design. And on the left here is a list of some of the features that came up that folks would like to see in the park. And there's going to be more community design ahead for more voices to come in. And it is a 4-acre site, so we can fit a lot of amenities, but universal access was at the top of the list. And folks, wanted to build on this urban ag history because there was this desire to do something different at this park, something interactive. So they called it the idea of a PG park, was a big idea that came out, not just for children, of course, for children, but also for, young adults and seniors. And then this idea that our neighbors need access to nature, and that this site could provide that is one that really resonated with people, and it was validated. And this idea that it could be a site that served our community to address pollution and heat island effect through, sustainable design, but also for us to learn about and study sustainability. And this charrette was we got to meet a bunch of people, like people at the UD Lab School who have like the outdoor kindergarten, and started talking to Wilmington Head Start about their interest in and their work with UD Lab and their desire to have an outdoor classroom. And so the idea that this site could possibly offer that to urban kids is something that keeps me going, throughout this process, the possibilities of this site. So you can see it's some more of the ideas. Out of it, we came up with this high-level vision, a nature-focused, community-focused park that could respond to some of the needs our community has to develop resiliency around food security, around rising temperatures, around pollution. We learned that we are in the 90th percentile for a bunch of the particulate matter indexes that the EPA tracks in its environmental justice rules. So we are definitely, and we know that Delaware is 4th, right, for the heat increase in the future years that are coming with climate change. So we know it's something our city needs. So we have this, really strong vision for the site that can yet incorporate more opinions and hopes for amenities and such. And this collaboration with UD is going on this semester yet, because Professor Enowick's Urban Design Studio continues to work on the site, to analyze it, and to engage with the community and develop creative designs. We just saw another round, the 3-quarter review, brought the class to our neighborhood last week, and here one of our students is presenting one of her concepts to us. And you can see a couple of examples of where their ideas, how the trajectory of growth. So this was the 1-quarter mark here, and this is the 3-quarter mark. It's really exciting to see the development of their designs. And there are more opportunities to go give feedback at a couple more presentations they'll be doing yet this semester. So if anybody's interested in that, you can get in touch with us and we'll connect you if you're not already connected. Thereafter, so another thing that's going on from the beginning of all this, we asked for our community city working group so we could work together on a future design. This particular vehicle this is where it hasn't been quite as fun. There has been some challenges in this working group. We have struggled to align on things like timeline and, this core idea that we should have a design before any site work begins. Nonetheless, we have come together and worked through that to create an RFP for this kind of nature-based and community-focused park. And we had a really fruitful site visit with like over a dozen landscape architects came out to the site, really loved it, gave us tons of positive feedback, saw a lot of potential, and then 8 firms in bids. We interviewed 4 of them, and those architects, really affirmed what we said, that there's this amazing site with the possibility to build on as for placemaking, and they were very impressed with the community engagement we had done thus far, and they saw a way to move forward with the site that would, be a deconstruction process instead of a demolition, where we could integrate site design and site work. We could do it sustainably. We could tell the story of sustainable development. We could minimize the community's exposure to, risks that are associated with, site work. And we could build an amazing park, that our community would love. So that's, what we're excited about. Unfortunately, the city is still moving forward with a plan to demolish the site before the community design process is done, and to completely flatten it and erase the features that we would like to incorporate in our design. That's where we are. And their plan looks like this: 4 months of demolition to break up that tank and all the associated infrastructure, chew it up with munchers, bury it on site, and then grade it all and plant it with grass. And it is a habitat right now. We have foxes and birds and hawks and, cats. Cats this season, a lot of cats this season. And what is more troubling is that there have been a series of environmental testing protocols up to now. Again, it was our community that wrote letters and poked DENREC and asked, for there to be, some investigation to the what if there's contamination at the site. Initially they discovered some cobalt, so that got them in a protocol for more testing. And each time they tested, they found more contamination. And the most recent set of results identified regulated substances that represent an unacceptable cancer rate in the resident scenario, and as well as regulated substances that are an unacceptable non-cancer risk under the resident child HI scenario. So again, these are the resident scenarios. We're also concerned and haven't seen evidence of them analyzing the scenario of demolition and excavation and what it means to break up all this material so that it could be released through the air and through runoff. And furthermore, we are, concerned that there isn't an actual plan to deal with any of the contamination of the site. The plan is to demo and then do some testing without, addressing the contamination. So we do have an action alert, and I'm going to drop that into the chat shortly. We're asking Governor Carney and DENREC to take action to kind of reverse course and to require more rigorous, to give us some tools to structure this process that will alleviate contamination and mitigate the community's risk, being exposed to these materials. So our big ask, our set of points here that we're trying to accomplish is we're asking the city to complete comprehensive planning as required by the bond bill. We see the design as part of this. We see properly addressing environmental hazards as part of this. We want to build on this vision that emerged from the charrette for this nature and community focused park. We think that that design should build on historic features of the site, especially the elevation that people love so much. We know this can save money, reduce the carbon footprint, and minimize risks to our health. So let me, and I think Christian might want to expand on some of these points. I'm going to drop that action alert link into the chat.
I think she did already, Jamila.
I already did.
Oh, she did already? Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
You want me to take down this, would you like to take over sharing, Christian?
I think you did a great job. I mean, I think we can answer questions. I do want to, acknowledge other people who are very active with Green for the Greater Good who are here. Thomas Wellman. I don't know if you want to say a few words about, the neighborhood and civic association and or anything Green for the Greater Good. introduce yourself?
I'm sorry, I was just unmuting myself, but I have nothing to add. You and Jamila did a great job in, saying what need to be said. And furthermore, well, maybe I will add something. I just want to say that, except for a few people in our neighborhood association, we're behind you, really. We're behind Green for the Greater Good. I do know some people who have in our neighborhood association that have plots and care for the whole thing. That's all I have to add.
Thank you, Thomas. And Thomas is the president of the Civic Association, the Cool Spring Tilton Park Neighborhood Association. So thank you very much for joining us and for everything that you have done, Thomas, just as a community advocate and also Representative Dorsey Walker. I don't know if you would like to say anything here, or we want to thank you for your support. Representative Dorsey Walker played a key role in the very early part where the state was offering funding for demolition of the Rodney Reservoir, which at that time was for the purpose of, private development. And she really fought hard to make sure that the funding would be for continuing the public use of this space. So I don't know if you want to say anything, Representative Dorsey Walker. We thank you.
I just want to say thank you, and I shall continue to fight on behalf of the community for the greater good.
Representative Dorsey Walker also helped us at a key point with the working group as well, that our community members would be able to participate in that.
Yeah, so right now, one thing that, we're kind of working very hard to make sure that there's this community. And also,